than 1% become fully committed. I've given you an example of it. If you are sufficiently involved, you can become conscious whilst your physical body is asleep, which is yoga. Will you become sufficiently involved? I doubt it. Learn to sleep lightly. It's a matter of involvement. Take a typical case of a youngster, boy of 16, 17, just got a job, hates it. The mother comes to wake him in the morning, got to get up early, can't arouse him, pulls the bedclothes off and throws water over him, finally he gets up. He slept heavily. But then the years pass, 5 or 6 years go by. Now he's a married man, wife and 3 children. He's involved in life. My God, he's involved. Working himself to death. Can't say no to overtime, needs the money. Works 14 hours, 15 hours a day, day in and day out, Sundays as well. Gets home at night half dead. Wife's waiting at the front door and says, glad you come, the children need bathing. And he takes the responsibilities on. He's involved in life. He's a changed man from that boy who couldn't be roused. And even during the night when heavens knows he needs to sleep. Got the baby next to him. The baby turns over in the night and starts to grizzle. Set the house on a roar. He knows he'll get no sleep. They'll all feel like hell the next day. And so, even when the child just is hardly grizzled at all, his hand goes over while he's asleep and picks up a dummy and sticks it in the mouth. And knows that that will only last about another 20 minutes and then he'll have to get up. Of course, his old habit is gone of sleeping like a hog every night. Most people in the world are like that. They rush around all day long, busy they call it, evoking the laughter of the gods. Busy about what? Rushing around all day long. Then the moment they hit the pillow at night, they're gone, they're out. And then the alarm clock wakes them in the morning, and they're at it again all day. Sleep, unconscious sleep, and rushing around. That's their lives. No chance at all of being reached subjectively, because one moment they're hyperactive and the next moment they're super dead. Now these are valuable points. As I said yesterday, if you're going to become a master or a high degree initiate, you have to be conscious 24 hours a day. When you call to the master on some important mission, you don't have to wait for the master to wake up. He is alert 24 hours a day. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking the truth. And if a master is alert 24 hours a day and you are dead for 8 hours of the day, somewhere, somehow, that 8 hours has got to be changed if you wish to become a master or a high degree initiate. And learning to sleep lightly can be achieved by becoming involved. Involved in planetary matters later, but at this stage involved in inner matters. That's why I say, if I was talking in a language which was Olympian in height, which was beyond you, you would have some cause to complain. But I'm speaking your language. I'm no different from you. I've been through all this. I know what it's like. How often during the war, out in front of the line, perhaps 200 yards from the German troops, wouldn't we lie and sleep whilst one man was on watch? Whilst that man tiptoed around, we would hear every movement and sleep and sleep and sleep. But if there was a foreign sound, just the scratch, the tinkle of a piece of tin tied on the barbed wire, everyone was alert. Now, these are incontrovertible facts about human life and nature. They're in you. It is absolutely nonsense to say that you can't sleep lightly. All I can say in answer to that is you're not involved. What happens in the astral world when you are alert? Most of us bring memories out of the world, of the astral world. We talk about this and that. Most of us don't see further than 6 feet in front of us in the astral world. But the moment that you become conscious there in the way that I've described, immediately you can see for miles. You see people, places, things, colors in the astral world that you never knew existed. The whole world is transformed for you the moment that you can develop consciousness on it. The next thing, I'll repeat them again: the development of the will, the ability to visualize the target reflexly, and thirdly, learning to sleep lightly. Fourthly, the development of a critical factor. The development of a critical factor during the dream state or during the sleep state. What do we mean by this? Keeping your minds alert, as we've already learned, by sleeping lightly. Alert not to what's going on outside, like the young man hearing the child grizzle, but to what's going on in the inner world. Develop a critical faculty. The way you do this is to record your dreams. Record your dreams. Analyze them. I had dreamt last night that I was... give you an example. You dream that you're in the street. You're walking down the street and you see your friend Bill. He's walking on the other side of the road carrying a baby grand piano. Say, hi, Bill. Later you wake up and you say, I must have been a damn fool. He was carrying a baby grand piano and I didn't remark on it. But if you had developed the critical faculty and you saw a person walking down the street carrying a grand piano unaided, you would say to yourself, hell, what's this? I'm in the astral world. Develop a critical faculty. And when that critical faculty is sharpened in you, you say, this is the astral world because it's unreal. Look at it. There are people there walking around without legs. There's a man carrying a baby grand. You're in the astral world and you're conscious. It isn't that you're not conscious. It is that you're not conscious that you're conscious. And that's where the master often helps. In the English ashram, I should say the Anglo-Saxon ashram, the fifth subrace is ashram, we have certain methods of arousing disciples. Within a few months, watch in your dreams, you will have these. You will hear knocks. From now on, you will hear knocks. When you awaken, you remember that there were knocks. You listen back to these words. And know that the Master is not inaccessible. You will have those experiences. If you don't, you'll know that you are sleeping too heavily. I'm not speaking idly. And this is the beauty, that the Master can knock so that you become aware that you are aware. In other words, that you're in the astral world. You can then visualize some object of a mental nature, and you're in the mental world, and then you are incommunicado with the Master. Now you begin to see what I mean when I say that I have given you a lot of very valuable information. The development of a critical faculty. Let me give you an example. From Oliver Fox's book. Oliver Fox standing on the pavement in his dreams. He was dreaming that he was standing on the pavement outside his house. And he was just about to walk in the front door, and he looked down, and he saw that the paving stones were not laid as he knew they should be. They were in different positions. And immediately he realized that he was in the astral world. It couldn't be like that. He knew his paving stones outside his front door, and these weren't like they should be. And that critical observation of his alerted him to the fact there's something wrong here. It's wrong because I am in the astral world. Then he writes, the solution flashed on me. Though this glorious summer morning seemed as real as could be, I was dreaming. Now listen, what happened? The moment that he was alert there, with the realization of this fact, the quality of the dream changed in a moment, in a manner very difficult to convey to one who has not had the same experience. Instantly, the vividness of life in the astral world increased 100-fold. Never had sea and sky and trees shone with such glamorous beauty. Even the commonplace houses seemed alive and mystically beautiful. Never had I felt so absolutely well, so clear-brained, so divinely powerful, so inexpressibly free. The sensation was exquisite beyond words, but it lasted only a few moments, and I awoke. Now go back to your young man way up in the clouds, in his paradise state. This is what I'm talking about. You are your own limitation, dragging around in the world of the astral with your eyes half open. People who are inobservant in this world will not be observant in the next world. You read Celia Hanson's book, the one she wrote with me, you will see in that exercises for seeing for the first time in your lives in waking consciousness, so that you can see inwardly, reflexly. A person who cannot see cannot focus. A person who cannot focus can never enter the kingdom of heaven. For entry into the kingdom of heaven is through an eye of the needle. And the eye of the needle is the symbol of focus. Try and thread a needle without focusing on the eye of the needle. Except, well. And so we understand then that the development of a critical faculty alerts you that you're in the astral world. You are then ready to project. You've done it all. You're then ready to project. So here we are. We're in the astral world, and all we have to do now is to draw on the things that we have been practicing for the last few weeks. Firstly, the target. Visualize the target. I want to go to so-and-so or to such and such a place. And the moment that you start to hold the target in your mind, you're moving in that direction. And the moment that you will yourself to it, you hurtle through the ethers. Easy as that. I have done it 1,000 times. It's as easy as that. All the other ways may seem easier, sitting awake and trying to get out of the body, which is a dangerous process. But this is the easy way, and it works beautifully. But there is an aid to it. An aid never given out in the West before. Come from my own experiences. Firstly, let us say to ourselves, what is the difference between the astral body of a live person and the astral body of a dead person? You will meet many of them. Live astral bodies, meaning that somewhere that person has a body lying in bed asleep, and astral bodies of people who haven't got a physical body. What's the difference? The appearance, yes. The one paler, the one, you yourself, possessing a physical body, have immense strength available to you in the astral world. You are a Roger in the astral world, compared to somebody who does not possess a physical body. and who is unaware that he can be energized from the spiritual realm, like occultists can once they are dead. And the difference between the two is marked. Do you know that most people don't know they are dead when they die? Every night of my life I meet people who haven't the faintest idea that they're dead. They have left the rationalizing instrument behind them. The dead body contains the rationalizing instrument, the brain. And they're in the astral world in conditions of semi-likeness to what they experienced while they were alive. They didn't take much notice of the world anyway when they were alive. Why should they take much more notice of this one? Just the same for them. Unless there is a traumatic and obvious incident that produced the death. Of course, many advanced esoteric people are instantly aware that they're dead. Met George Delaware in the inner world not long after he died. I said, George, you know that you're dead, don't you? He said, oh, good Lord, yes, old boy. Of course I do. He was having a lovely time with a lovely garden party, and people were interested in what he had to say. But he knew he was dead. Most do not. That's one of the necessities of your service work in the inner world, is to help people to understand that they're dead, and that there is no help going to come from clinging on to earthly desires that anchor them there. The best thing for them to do is to slip out of the astral world into the mental and then into Devashan, if that's to be their future, so that they can very quickly slip into the stream of rebirth and get on with their soul's purpose in a new body. When the desires are very strong, of course, they're anchored in the astral world for centuries. Sometimes there is good reason for them to do this. Queen Elizabeth was said to have remained in the Queen Elizabeth I was said to have remained in the astral world for 100 years, endeavoring to guard the interests of Britain, reaching her politicians and so on. But the real difference, ladies and gentlemen, has probably missed you. The difference is this, that this astral body has a breathing apparatus which has not stopped functioning. The breathing apparatus is still functioning even while you're in the astral world. Not at a great rate, just very gently. Half a pint of air a breath. This has no breathing apparatus, only the astral one. And so, if you could bring your breathing apparatus into maximum efficiency during an astral projection, you have power unimaginable available to you. And whilst projecting, if you will use a certain breathing mechanism, there is nothing that can stand against you. What is the breath? The breath is the bellows breath. The bellows breath. And the bellows breath should be practiced anyway as a preliminary to meditation, so that you can do the bellows breath reflexly, so that you must be not only conscious in the astral world, but to be able to be conscious and put your breathing mechanism into a higher gear. I'm not going to describe it's in my books, and we'll probably come to it in some other set. But it involves taking air rapidly through the nose. If you learn to do this exercise in everyday life, twice, 3 times a day, there are ways to do it, and you can draw the air in like that while you are projecting, you usually only need 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Whatever you are doing is acted upon immediately. The aura, the astral aura, immediately shoots out colors, sparks. You must learn it. I can only talk here. And so I have given you 5 factors for the prime method of astral projection. Say them again. When you are alert in the astral world, I'm in the astral world, you have already there the necessity to project to the target. If you're afraid, you can project to me, I don't mind. Hold the target there. Visualize it, and as you visualize it, you'll immediately leave the area that you were in. The stronger and the more accurately you visualize the target, the more rapid will you reach it, and the more closely appositioned to it will you be, and the longer you will be able to hold your presence in front of the target. If you wish additional help, most people will find this most useful, use the breathing mechanism in the way that I said, so that as you're projecting, willing yourself to the target, and of course, the physical body goes into that rhythm. It's not just an astral notion. It's overlooked by most esotericists. I've never seen it written up anywhere. The simple fact that the breathing mechanism is the only part of the body that moves when it's asleep. And therefore all that is needed is a gentle stimulus to it, like the one I've suggested. The 5th stage of projection, how to do it? By service to mankind. When you tread the path and place yourself in under the direction of the masters, they will give you 5th stages of astral projection. As part of your illumination, you will be shown some of the mysteries of the world. Sometimes it is necessary for them to take you there. If it is important enough for you, I'm sorry, if you are an important enough person, they would certainly do it. If you are a nincompoop with nothing in your lives except your own miserable affairs, and there is no concern for others, for mankind, serving mankind, you will get no help. So these are the stages and the techniques of projection. I have only now to finish in a few minutes telling you about the nature of the astral world. What sort of a world are you projected into? Of course, I can't tell you much with such short time. But you will get something of that nature in the course of the next few days. It's a strange world, and yet so like ours that we're happy in it and familiar in it usually. It is graded. If you've attended my talk so far, you will understand immediately what I mean. It is graded into planes, the astral world. And in those planes there are the sort of beings you would expect to flock together. Birds of a feather flock together. And the artists love to come together and elaborate their intrinsic qualities, their aesthetic natures. They can't bear the damn scientists. They're always on at the same old things, slight plane lower. Some of them even up here, if it's an Einstein with mystical insight or outlook. Birds of a feather flock together. But you know, none of us can always live up in this region. If you're an occultist, if you are to be a teacher of others, you have to plumb the depths of the astral world as well as the heights of the astral world. The lowest depths are murky indeed. Men screaming in terror in battle generate emotional energy, emotional material in the way that I described earlier with regard to the spider. They create all fear, all negativity, all hateful thoughts, emotions, generate the mud and filth and dirt of the lower planes of the astral world. The limbo, the hell of the Catholics, the Avicii of the Buddhists. It's all there. Just as there is also the higher planes of the astral, the glorious planes which are strengthened opening bars of Handel's Messiah, Handel's Hallelujah Chorus. The glorious planes of the upper worlds which we call the Summerlands, the happy hunting grounds of the Red Indians, the heaven world of the Catholics, and so on and so on. The various grades. And as I say, no man can escape, ultimately, in having to experience all of them. Even Emmanuel Swedenborg, who gave us a map like a spiritual Columbus of these 7 planes, he had to plumb the depths as well as to rise to the heights to sit us on the right hand of God the Father Almighty. The astral world. The ways of entry are so different. The young man chopped down in the prime of life by an aeroplane accident, or the villain hanged, his life terminated by electrocution, perhaps. He is projected into that world suddenly, rapidly. His emotional energies are unchanged. They're the same as they were on earth. Nothing to change them. Death does not change them immediately. So very different from the astral body of an elderly person who has lived a long and fruitful and gentle life, who gradually detaches herself increasingly from the physical body and gently slips into the astral world, has no desire for earthly things and therefore quickly passes through the different planes into Devashan. What a strange world. A world in which the characters, the famous characters of English literature or Chinese literature exist. If you are a reader of Dickens, then Mr. Pickwick exists for you in the astral world. All the characters are there. And as people read about Mr. Pickwick and laugh at Mr. Pickwick and feel for Mr. Pickwick in his predicament, then they are feeding energy to the astral image of Mr. Pickwick. You can meet him. And President Kennedy. 3 President Kennedys. The national image of President Kennedy, as everybody thought of him, still there. Especially riding in cars, crowds, waving, bending down, shaking hands. And then there's the family image of him. And then there is the astral body of him, now already a shell, vacated. And whatever you focus your attention on becomes fed with your emotional energy. I was walking down the pathway of a garden in the astral world. I love roses. And of course it was a garden full of roses. Why should I have a garden? Why should I choose a garden in the astral world? Why should I desire a garden full of flowers I can't stand? And so that was the kind of garden it was. And there was one rose. And I turned to it, put my hands under it like I do at home and said, "Oh, isn't that wonderful?" And immediately the rose grew tremendous to the size. I had fed it emotional energy. That's the astral world. If you are being hideously attacked in that astral world, the chances are that you are being attacked by somebody that you fear. And you are generating his image in your aura in the astral world. What happens when you project to somebody? If you project to them in your astral body and they are asleep, their astral body will be available to you. You can talk to them astrally, astral to astral. If they don't remember their dreams, they won't remember your visit to them. If they do remember their dreams, they will. And so don't expect, because you've projected to somebody astrally, that automatically they're going to ring up in the morning and say, hey, you paid me a visit last night, didn't you? They won't, usually. But very frequently, if they are the type of person I've been describing tonight, they will be aware that you were there. And sometimes you can materialize. Sometimes, if it is an old house, as I say, and there are some lovely people there who have given out emotional energies in which the house is drenched and the house has been standing a long time, it will be possible for you to materialize your faith, or something like that. Think about it. Opportunities to service. First of all, to help clear it. The chaos in the astral world after the last World War was incredible. Swarms of GIs, Tommies, Germans, roaming around, bewildered, reenacting the events of the war, fighting each other in the astral world, not the faintest idea that they were dead. Terrible chaos there. Greatly cleared in recent years, greatly cleared. But the need is always desperate for conscious mediums. Beings who can be conscious there. Beings who can go into an area of the astral world where there is misery and horror and no hope. Who can stand amongst them. Even change his image into whatever he wishes. Stand amongst them and breathe in the way that I've suggested, visualizing themselves as a pillar of light, giving to those astral beings experiences which just give them enough lift to break their ties with their earthly desires, allow them to go into daily shadow. Visiting people who are ill, desperately ill, especially if you're a doctor. Ability to visit your patients, see them, look right into their bodies and see sites of difficulty that cannot be detected by test instruments. Coaxing irrecoverably ill patients, calling them out of their bodies. Come on, come towards them. Helping them to break their hold, the links with the physical body. Air crash victims clustered on the sides of hills that the planes have struck. Go amongst them, amongst bewildered, crying children, parents, and tell them that there's been an accident, that they're dead. But that does not mean to say that it's the end of life. Look up on the hill there. There's light up there. Aspire to everything that you believe good, and you will get there. Help them. The ability to move in the world, astrally, to influence. Cruel dictators. Project to them. Call to them. Very strange but true characteristic of human nature, that men and women will not listen to outside suggestion and criticism, no matter how constructive. But if it comes from within, they will act upon it. And if you can reach powerful individuals, effective individuals in the world, and call to them and advise them, they pick it up as if it's coming from within, so that their behavior can be moderated, so that their indecision can be swung towards the right decision. Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen it 1,000 times in my life. I did not believe that the masters had such wonderful understanding and power to change human attitudes as they have, but they need help. So this is the astral world. And I have exceeded my time. Thank you very much.